Tagaysay. So unfortunately, I have nothing illegal to offer you in Manila. So unfortunately, I work for Xurpas, so it's a public company, so we can't really have the flexibility to do a lot of those things. So I'm going to talk today about monetizing the unmonetizable. So if you're a developer, if you're a no. Yeah. So if you're a developer or you're a publisher, you probably come to the conclusion already very quickly that the Philippines is simply unmonetizable. Even if you're just a casual gamer, you're probably aware of that already. So yes, all your friends play Clash of Clans, but how many of them actually pay for anything? So and that's true whether it's the Philippines, whether it's Indonesia, whether it's Bangladesh, whether it's Vietnam. Emerging markets work the same. So Okay, so when you want to monetize emerging markets, basically that means you have to monetize through prepaid. Why? You can't monetize through credit cards because 95% of the population don't have one. You can't monetize through a postpaid bill because 95% of the population is prepaid. So monetizing a prepaid market requires a completely different playbook from the one you probably heard from the US or from Europe. The learnings simply don't apply in markets like this. So monetizing prepaid users presents a very unique challenge. It's a challenge that even Google Play struggles with. So we know that there are over 30 million Android handsets in the Philippines. But you would probably be shocked to know that in terms of paying players in the Philippines, it's just at about 120,000. 120,000 players out of a population of 110 million. So, so that's not a very big market. It's 120,000 players. And the revenue from those players, 49% of it, is consolidated to the top 20 players, to the top 20 publishers. So that basically leaves you, the developer, that leaves you, the publisher, with an addressable market of 60,000 players. So that 60,000 players, that 800,000 developers, and over 3 million apps have to fight for. That's a very, very crowded space. So why can't Google Play monetize prepaid? So the answer is simply that because people can't afford Google Play. The lowest price point on Google Play is 15 pesos. And if you're a postpaid user, if you're a credit card holder, 15 pesos is nothing. Of course, you can afford that. But for 95% of the market, for the real market out there, 15 pesos is simply too much. And to understand why 15 pesos is too much, you have to understand how the prepaid wallet works. So let's take the average prepaid user. So the average prepaid user will have a monthly ARPU of 115 pesos. So if your IAP costs $5, obviously that's already too expensive right then and there. But what's important to know is that of the 115 pesos, that amount never exists in the wallet at any given time. So this prepaid user never actually has 115 pesos. Why? Because he reloads that 115 pesos 20 pesos at a time. So you know that the Philippines is a sachet model. we don't buy our shampoo in tubs, we buy it in sachets. Right? And so it is with prepaid loading. So the average prepaid user will reload 20 pesos about 5 to 6 times a month. That 20 pesos, 15 pesos is immediately spent within the next 5 minutes of loading. So I load 20 pesos, 5 minutes later, 15 pesos is gone, and I'm left with 5 pesos. So what is the wallet size of the average prepaid user? It's just 5 pesos. It's not 115, it's not even 20 pesos. It's just 5 pesos. Okay, so let's look at another type of consumer, the base of the pyramid consumer. So this consumer even has less than the average person. So her monthly ARPU is 65 pesos a month. So she reloads 10 pesos at a time, immediately spends 8 pesos, and is just left with 2 pesos. Okay, so the whale. So this is the consumer that Google Play is currently monetizing. So this is the 120,000 players that Google Play is effectively monetizing. Okay. So his monthly ARPU is 850 pesos a month. He reloads 100 pesos at a time, spends 50 pesos immediately on call, text, and data. No problem. He's still left with 50 pesos. Google Play can monetize the whale, no problem, but cannot monetize, unfortunately, everybody else. Cannot monetize 95% of everyone else. So if you want to monetize in the Philippines, if you want to monetize in emerging markets, you have to have a strategy that engages all wallet sizes. It can't just be the whales. It can't just be postpaid. It just can't be credit card holders. So this is the dilemma that you're left with. Okay, so you've got IAP. How much do you price it? Let's say that Google Play sees this presentation and says, okay, I'm going to allow 1 peso billing. Instead of a minimum of 15 pesos, it can be as low as 1 peso. Okay, then this is the dilemma that you're now left with. How much are you going to price your IAP? Are you going to price it at 2 pesos? The base of the pyramid consumer can afford that, but then you leave money on the table for the average prepaid user who's willing to pay 3 pesos more. You're obviously leaving a lot of upside to the whale who was willing to pay you 50 pesos and more. So do you price it 2 pesos? Do you price it at 5 pesos? Do you price it at 50 pesos? Even if you priced it at 50 pesos, there will always be someone out there who can afford more. And there will always be someone out there who can afford less. So the pricing becomes a guessing game. So how much do I price my IAP? So what we've done with Xurpas is basically, and this is the result of 15 years of learnings. What we've done is it's basically variable pricing. What that means is this is your IAP. It will be priced differently for everyone. You can afford 100 pesos. This IAP costs 100 pesos for you. You can only afford 50 pesos. It costs 50 pesos from you. And someone out there can only afford 2 pesos. I still want that 2 pesos. So this IAP costs 2 pesos for him. So this is how installment billing works. So you have your IAPs. Some are priced at 5 pesos, some are priced at 25 pesos, some are priced at 300 pesos. So let's take 25 pesos, okay? So the way installment billing would work is, so you'd get a message that says, you purchased this IAP which costs 25 pesos. You've been billed 5 pesos. So 5 pesos happens to be all you had at the time. So you've been billed 5 pesos. You'll be charged the balance of 20 pesos within the next 60 days. So basically, may utang ka pa sa akin. So yung utang mo na 20 pesos, I'm going to collect that. I'm going to try to collect that at least over the next 60 days. Okay. So, this is how it would work. So basically, I'm always checking how much you have. On some days, you've got absolutely zero load. On some days, you've got 5 pesos. On some days, you've got 4. On some days, you've got 3. It will differ from day to day. So on certain days, I might not be able to bill you at all. On certain days, I'll get 5, I'll get 4, I'll get 3. I'm going to keep trying until I get the full 25 pesos over the next 60 days. Obviously, it's easier for even lower priced IAPs. So let's say your IAP costs 5 pesos. Then maybe I'll bill it 1 peso at a time. Whales are obviously the simplest because they've got a lot of load most of the time. So an IAP that costs 300 pesos could be billed this way. Sometimes you'll be billed 30 pesos, sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 50. On and on and all until you pay the full 300 pesos. Okay. Now, doing this type of billing requires a complete paradigm shift. Why? Because the reality check here is that you will never get 100% collection even if you did this. So let's say your IAP costs 100 pesos. Reality check, you'll never be able to collect the full 100. Some people, you'll get 80 pesos from. Some people, it's 60. Some people, it might be as low as 10 pesos. So if you're simply a distributor and you don't own your game, then this might not work for you. But if you do own your game, these are digital goods. You can price it any way you want. So the paradigm shift for us, so we implemented this about 6 years ago. The paradigm shift for us was partial payment from 1 million players is better than full payment from 10,000 players. So I would rather get as low as 20 pesos from 1 million players versus getting 500 pesos from just 10,000 players. So that's been the paradigm shift for us. And for the devs out there, for the publishers out there that do own their games, installment billing can be devastatingly effective for you. So the first time we tried it, we were absolutely shocked at the results. The results are exponential. So installment billing is a capability that for the longest time was really exclusive just to Xurpas. Okay, so we've been doing this for years. So this capability is now open. We're now opening it up to everyone else. So we're launching an alternative to Google Play. So it's called Woot. So Woot is a third-party app store. It's the official app store of Globe. So it's specifically designed and it's custom built to monetize Globe's over 66 million subscribers. 95%, over 95% of which are prepaid. Okay. So so if you're a developer, if you're a publisher, there are 3 ways to monetize on Woot. Okay. The first is what I've discussed. So installment billing. So basically, you can price your IAP any way you want. You can still price it at 300 pesos. All we're talking about is breaking it up into affordable installments. So that's the first way. The second way is we're so confident about our ability to monetize in emerging markets that we actually offer flat fees. So if you don't want to worry about monetization at all, we'll give you a flat fee, we'll monetize for you, and we'll keep the upside. So we'll pay you a flat fee for a 2-year engagement that allows us unlimited use of your game's IAP. So if you're interested in this, please approach us at our booth. we're looking for publishers and developers that have a minimum of 50 games. The last way you can work with Woot is, well, the standard way. So the way that you're used to with Google Play. So there's no installment billing, there's no flat fees, just your standard IAPs. So they're billed at full price, standard revenue share of 70-30 in your favor. So there. So if there are any questions, if you're interested about installment billing, if you're interested about flat fees, you can approach me or you can approach anyone in our booth. We're actually giving out a Google Pixel in a few hours. So visit our booth, play our game, and you can win a Google Pixel in 3 hours. So we're awarding it at 6 p.m. So thank you for coming today.